Hey everybody, this is Laren with the Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today I'm here with Jason Vodkard Majere. We're actually going to be covering his new latest module release, Tanglewood Keep. It's available for Fantasy Grounds and in PDF on the DM's Guild. And we're going to dive into some history, a little bit about some of the things he's been up to, and then we're going to close it with a couple plugs for his start playing, and then also the product itself. So without further ado, hey Jace, welcome back, man.
Hail and well met, Laren. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, I missed you. I wonder what was going on with you. I saw you haven't been active in a couple of years, so I was kind of wondering where you went. So I'm glad you're back, though. Welcome back, man.
Oh, thank you. Been having a tough battle with Takesis, but I think I won.
Good.
Nice big explosion there at the end, and yep.
Cool. Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, we both battled Takesis, as a matter of fact. So this is basically kind of a introduction to the adventure that you had adapted into Fantasy Grounds, and then I wanted to start off with a little bit about you, like what your history with the game is as far as Dungeons and Dragons, and then Dragonlance, and then a little bit of Fantasy Grounds, and then we'll get into the Tanglewood Keep.
Sure, absolutely. Well, this is a story all about how... No, just kidding. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. I'll keep it short and concise. Yeah, right. Let's see. I started D&D back in 1989. I was a teeny bopper, so I'm guessing probably 13. It was about 7th grade. My very first campaign I ever joined was a Dragonlance campaign. I was a Kender burglar. I still remember it fondly. One of my favorite characters after, 30, 40, who knows how many years, who counts anymore. But yeah, it was the beginning of an era, if you would. I was a player for D&D all the way up until about maybe the year 2000, so I think it was 3.0. I don't think it was quite 3.5 yet. When I finally took my hand at dungeon mastering, I ended up becoming a, what do we call them, permanent dungeon master, a forever dungeon master. I remember the term. I can honestly probably count on one hand how many times I've been a player since the year 2000. Let's see here, about 2016, maybe 17, I started DMing professionally. Did that for, who knows, 4 or 5 years. That was the time of my life. I won't sing the song. And took a little break to battle Takesis, as we mentioned, and I'm back, folks. Absolutely. So here I am with a brand new product, Tanglewood Keep. This one I am absolutely thoroughly excited about. But I'll let you go ahead and keep talking from here on out for a moment.
Yeah, that's fine. That's great. You were going just fine. Keep on going. Let's hear about Tanglewood Keep.
Absolutely. So, before I took my break, my big claims that I was working on was a conversion of the original first edition War of the Lance series, DL 1 through 16, technically 14 for the story. And it was a pretty big challenge to take on. And this time, I wanted to do baby steps, something I learned from the Muppets. And I thought, you know what? There is one short story that I absolutely fell in love with, Tanglewood Keep. This story just really has a place in my heart, which is weird because it's not like it's the best or the greatest. Hey, maybe it is. It's all about perception, really. But the thing about this story that got me so in love with it was let's do a little flashback. Wayne's World. Back in the 80s, there was a cartoon show. We all know this cartoon show. It was the D&D cartoon show about a group of people in the real world who, what did they take? A boat ride, wasn't it, at a carnival? And they get sucked into, Dungeons and Dragons. I think they got sucked into Faerun, if I remember. Boy, I was a kid when I watched it. But it was one of my favorite cartoons back in the 80s. And this story, to me, holds the spirit of that cartoon. So this story begins not in the world of Krynn. It begins in Faerun, a group of young adventurers who just graduated from the adventuring school of Anything Goes. Kudos if you know what that's from. And they're off to find an adventure, to find fame and glory, or hey, you know what? Whatever the players want to find, really. But by doing so, they end up stumbling across. Let's see here. How would I put it? They stumble across an interesting-looking halfling. Not quite the halflings known in the world of Faerun, and by a little happenstance, they end up in the world of Krynn. And to me, that just kind of parallels the idea of that 80s beautiful cartoon show. And so, to me, it's almost like paying homage to it. And so that's how I present this. It is a group of just everyday people looking for fun and excitement that get thrown into a whole new world, unknown to them, foreign to them, and a chance at either being a hero just for one day or being a hero forever and ever. And by that, this story is for levels 1 to 3. Simple beginner story. It is a story for people who are new to the world of Krynn, the world of Dragonlance, an introductory story, if you would. But by playing this story, if you are the dungeon master, you have the perfect opportunity to, in the final act, to ditch the epilogue and start the War of the Lance, a full-on multi-year campaign of the heroes that we grew up and loved: Raceland, Tasselhoff, Flint, Tanis, you name them. I can go on and on. You can take this short story and seamlessly use it as an intro to the War of the Lance, or you can finish the climax itself, go through the epilogue of the story, and it'll become, I find, roughly a 3-session, 4-hour each story, maybe 10 to 12 hours to finish. You know how players can chat it up a bit, a little more so at an actual table than a virtual table, but depending on your players, it might take a little longer or a little shorter. So I would say about 10 to 12 hours if you just run the story. It's a beautiful story. I think it's not heavy in lore and so much that it would overwhelm and combobble, gotta love that word, the players. It's a very lighthearted story. I would say maybe 35% action, 60% role play, and 100% fun. I know that doesn't add up to 100%.
That sounds great.
What else would you like to hear? Go ahead and ask me anything. I can show you stuff. Whatever.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the images from the module. Let's take a look at some of the images.
Absolutely. We can start with the images. I've just got the cover art here to start with, just to kind of get you going. But let's do some images. All the maps I did myself. I think only the cover art I ended up using AI. But some of these maps are pretty cool. I'll start with the simple ones, actually. This map here is actually a snippet of a bigger map I made. Actually, one of the very first maps I ever made out of Campaign Cartographer. Here is a map of Krynn. Just a little snippet. You can kind of see near the center, you've got Solace. This is not where you begin the story. This would be part 2 of the story in a 2-parter. You would start in the Darkened Woods. Here's the Darkened Woods. And you kind of move along, but it's just an overworld map. Yay. Let's get to some of the better stuff. Once you're in Krynn, there is a little place you'll find, a nice little cottage, cozied into the forest. Stevie's cottage, if you would. Every map I made does have, I'll show you here, line of sight. A lot of them have a lot of lighting as well. As you can see, there is light going through all the windows and everything, not in the basement. Pretty cool. I love line of sight personally. That's probably one of my absolute favorite. Oh no, lightning comes a close set. Lighting, not lightning, comes a close second. But that line of sight just blew my mind when it first came out, and so I make sure to add it to every single map.
Cool.
Oh, what was that?
I said cool.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I ran a lot of campaigns, boy, so many campaigns, there was something about hearing the players go, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing." It just puts a good feeling in your heart, I think. The big map, which is pretty cool, you've got Citadel of Caisson. Here, of course, this would be the DM's view. You can see it's a little darkened in areas because I do have line of sight. But here would be the big map. You've got links to all the major rooms, as you can see. This would be close to the climax. Would be what would it be called? The rising action, if you remember that from high school. Right? Yeah. My favorite of the 5 was the word denouement. Love that word. Right? Such a cool French word. But here's would be the rising action. A climax would take place. Let's go to the tower. This was an interesting one to make. Took a little bit figuring out how to make it look proper because it is a tower. So I thought a sky background would be appropriate. It does have line of sight and lighting. I could show you real fast, but that's not the biggest deal. See? Yay! Whatever. But yes, it does have everything in it. Pretty cool 4-story tower with links and lighting shining through the windows and everything. With the climax hitting up at the top tower at the observatory. There you go. A few other maps, maybe. Tanglewood. Here is where lighting effects, I think, really take place. I do like, when appropriate, I like to add a few little touches to it. So you might be able to see just barely. I try to keep it so the player has to be really looking, but you'll see a mist of clouds slowly floating over the forest here.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, such a beautiful little touch, I think. There you go. I made it at dusk, so here is where the player's vision comes in. Of course, as the dungeon master, you can always change to whatever time of day you like as well. There's a few other maps, but not really too much. A meadows, got a little mist going on, and cave entrance. I don't want to show these too much, though. Gotta keep a few little surprises for the buyers.
Yep.
But yeah, there would be the images right there for you.
Cool. Let's take a look at. Go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say, let's take a look at the reference manual.
Oh yes, yeah. Reference manual. I really enjoy making reference manuals because I utilize them a lot. I'm not sure how many other dungeon masters use these, but I know when I'm DMing, I always keep the reference manual on hotbar number 1. Here in the reference manual, you've got the 4 major categories and subcategories to help the DM remember where they're at. A preface, just regular everyday stuff. One thing I did like was I did a little research on the original authors, Vince Garcia and Bill Mercer.
Cool.
Very, very, very cool information about these two. Bill Mercer, I tried to find out to make sure it is the same person, but according to the online, this is the guy who is the first reporter at the scene to the John F. Kennedy assassination. I gotta find out if that's the same guy or not, but I added it just in case, because that was too fascinating not to add it. And how many people are actually named Bill Mercer? And by the way, no association with the Mercer that's popular right now, in case people are curious. I looked it up. I thought, was he his father or grandfather? Nope. Unrelated. I did have a new magic section in the preface. It talks about a mirror of portals. That would be the entrance into Krynn that the adventurers will unwittingly, unknowingly, inadvertently, whichever word you choose, enter. But after the preface comes the fun stuff. So we got part 1, which I labeled Faerun, to keep the DM focused on which parts what. We've got everything in there. I've got all the stuff you would say. You can see I have NPCs. It was a toss-up on whether to put a link to the next page or just put next page. And I decided, you know what, if it's just the next page, all you gotta do is click this little button right here. There you go, you're at the next page. If it's better to go to a page that's not the next page, I definitely put the link at the bottom instead, though, to kind of differentiate the two so the DM understands they're going to either the next page or they're jumping a page, to distinguish the two.
Right.
But you'll see that they are, what would it be called, like subcategories, I suppose. In here. Every one of these, so like you saw the links on the images, they're all linked in here. For these, I did make it simple for the DM. I added the battle map right there. You just, bam, there's the battle map. You got the encounter. Yeah, I know it's 50 sprites. You're not going to throw that on the map. But other encounters, you could actually throw up on the map. And for those that can easily be thrown up on the map, I already pre-added them, so you just got to click the throw on the map button and they'll be placed right on the map for you. Parcels as well, we'll get to that though. So there's your Faerun. Krynn, part 2. Part 2, if you liked Hot Shots Part 2. That's an old reference, right?
Part 2, yeah.
No, I have to go off topic. You know they're remaking what were the Leslie Nielsen movies based off the Police Squad files. Yeah, they're remaking that, and Liam Neeson is going to be playing the role of that Leslie Nielsen was known for.
Cool.
I just have to say that because that just tickled my fancy. But here we go in part 2. You can see here there are a lot of subheadings. This would be the Citadel, that the image you saw earlier. So they're all in there, just random stuff. There's a parcel there. For longer text, I kind of gave them a few little subheadings just to keep the DM easily understanding what's going on without having to read a whole blurb of paragraphs all conglomerated together. You know, it makes it a little easier. And then, of course, the epilogue. And, of course, also an index for each one of these two, as you can see. Like index part 2. I didn't do the index for the subcategories. Instead, I put the subcategory index within the main category. I felt it more appropriate. All the way down to concluding the adventure. So now a few things to mention about this. To ensure that this is an appropriate tribute, not to sing that beautiful song, that this is just a tribute. What I did was I took all the original flavor text from the original first edition version of Tanglewood Keep. That was within DL15, Mists of Krynn, a short story within a whole bunch of short stories in that adventure. And I reworded every single flavor text. I have a master's degree, and I can tell you one thing that universities beaten to you is learning how to not plagiarize and even use plagiarism checkers online to make sure that you aren't plagiarizing. So it was a bit of work, but I definitely made sure that every single flavor text is merely just a tribute. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. But it keeps the spirit, it keeps the original story intact, and it's just amazing in general. I'm thoroughly impressed and happy with the work, to be honest. But there you go with the reference manual.
Very cool. So you're running this on the Start Playing, is that correct?
I will be. I'm about to put it up on Start Playing probably this afternoon. It will be a little bit later today. I'm going to add it into Start Playing in case anyone would like to dabble into the world of Krynn. New players who have never played Dragonlance, maybe old timers such as myself, OGers, if you would. I prefer that term.
Yeah.
Actually, my favorite term is we're not getting old. We're getting higher in level. Right?
That's a good way to.
We are high level. That more positive terminology.
Yeah, it's gamifying it. Yeah.
Yes. So for us high level people in the real world or low level people in the real world, absolutely. This I will be running this on. You can find it on startplaying.games. And feel free to sign up. You can even send me a message if you have any questions. I'd be absolutely glad to answer it. Absolutely. A few fun little things. Spells. You'll notice there are a few new spells. Here's a spell. I gotta say, this is my favorite. As many old high level D&D players might notice, Read Magic is not in 5th edition. Pretty interesting, right? Like,
Yeah.
what? It's controversial, from what I understand. So I re-added it into here, so you can have Read Magic. As for items, you guys are gonna like this one. I hope you do. Zygag's spell component case. I think it was Greyhawk was the last setting that used this item. And I remade it for 5th edition. Of course, you take that name backwards, and you can probably take a little clue on where this name came from. But Zygag's spell component case is awesome. One thing to show, I did do this for DMs who like to utilize this. Any magic item I made unidentified to start off with, because ergo why I added the Read Magic. In case you want to have a little bit of mystery for your players, an unknown item, if you would. So I've got that, along with a few other unique items that I made myself. A Lightbringer mace that has a spell of continual light. Pretty cool, I thought. Silly, but I find fun item that was made. I call the Robe of Silver Resilience. It has a permanent prestidigitation cantrip to keep it clean at all times. Who wouldn't want that robe, right? So there you go. Of course, I added a link to the spell for anyone who wants a quick reference to prestidigitation. Gotta love that word. A few other items you might notice here, I'll put it more toward the center, that were added, customized if you would, along with familiar items you might see as well. Also, there is NPCs. Uh, every NPC on here was taken either from the SRD, which I'll get into in just a moment, or customized completely from scratch. Like, what would a campaign be without a bookworm? Uh, I can't believe there hasn't been a bookworm in a campaign yet in 5th edition. So there you go. You want to throw in a bookworm, and not just a generic one. Look at all these traits I added to this bookworm. I mean, I really tried to put some thought into this one. Not only, I mean, actually, the funny thing is I even got a picture of a image token for a bookworm, if you would. A couple older NPC creatures that aren't in 5th edition. The Buka, a type of fae, little fairy type creature. You don't see those much anymore. A fun one, the Obliviox. It is pretty much a fungi, not the fun guy, but a fungus type creature. Those are pretty cool because they will suck your memory dry. Pretty cool there, I thought. A few other things in there for NPCs. And then I did touch base with a little teaser about the SRD. I do want to let everyone know. Everything in here either uses the SRD or is custom made. And the reason I did that is because with Fantasy Grounds, the SRD modules come with. They're free, but you got to buy all the other digital books. And I did not want my dungeon masters to have to buy a single book. And so I ensured that everything either came from the free SRD, linked to it, or I added it directly into this campaign so you didn't even have to use the link, or custom made. So the only purchase needed would be this product.
It's pretty cool. That's
Thank
really
you.
nice. That's a nice touch. I like the idea that you went out of your way to kind of make this fun. And I remember watching your previous videos when you used to run the Dragonlance campaigns. It seemed like a lot of fun. You really got into it. And you kind of almost were like in costume sometimes. So I really appreciate that. And that's a really good sign of someone who's passionate about the product and about what they're doing. So really, really cool. I do want to wrap this up so we don't go too long. But
Okay.
if you have anything else you'd like to show us before we say goodbye and do our little shout-outs.
Well, sure. Let's do a tiny little epilogue. For those who are dungeon masters who do want to run in the world of Krynn, you could do a quick Google search for this. It's completely free. You can get a calendar. No, the calendar system is already in Fantasy Grounds, but there is a Krynn Dragonlance calendar you can find online for free. It's kind of an add-on to the normal calendar, which I have added to this just to show. And there you go. 348 AC, 13th of the autumn harvest. This is the Elven calendar, by the way. What makes this date so important? This is the very first day for Dragons of Autumn Twilight, the first book ever to be released where the heroes reunited after their 5-year journey. So I would say if you do plan to run this, look up this calendar, go ahead and add it. It's really simple to do, and boy, does it make the players have a little extra smile added to their face to see an actual calendar set in Dragonlance. Well, I would say that'd be about it. That'd be about it. And I mean, one last thing, if I could end it in a certain way, actually. I would just like everyone to know one simple thing. Life's like a movie. Write your own ending. Keep believing. Keep pretending. I've done just what I've set out to do. Thanks to the lovers, the dreamers, and especially you. Thank you, everybody.